Yo, what's up? Welcome on into the podcast. I'm Brett.
I'm Dorian.
And we have our Thursday throwback, continuing our dissection of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. And it's called the Dark Knight trilogy for a reason, because that is the best movie in the three.
Yep, and two out of the three movies have Dark Knight in the title as well.
Yeah, totally. And so, we're looking at today as, maybe a less organized version of like kind of our other ones, but just we want to really talk about and capture as many details of the movie as possible. So we might bounce around a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's really what we want these to be, is just kind of our discussion of, how these movies were impactful, favorite scenes, favorite quotes. And so, I think it's going to be a fun time for both of us. Honestly, I've really been enjoying rewatching these.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. But the first kind of question I want to ask is, do you remember the first time or your first impressions of The Dark Knight? I'm guessing you do, if it's as iconic for me as it is for you.
I can tell you the day.
Oh, see, I can't do that.
Yeah, like it was July 19th, 2000.
Oh my gosh.
2008. Yeah.
You better remember your damn anniversary with your wife if you can remember your anniversary of seeing this movie.
Yeah. Anyhow, so that being said, so I'm going to kind of take you back before even that point, because I remember just the lead up to this movie. Exactly.
Yeah, Heath Ledger gets cast. There's a lot of backlash.
Yeah, so there's a lot of backlash, because he's the pretty boy. People thought, okay, yeah, he's not going to work.
I mean, he's only been in rom-coms and then A Knight's Tale and a couple other movies up until this point. He
was in Patriot, where he's but he was
a smaller role.
It was a decent role because he's Mel Gibson's
oldest son.
Yeah, and then but even then he's he's the pretty boy, and it's just
I loved him in A Knight's Tale.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
But it's just he's not super well known for doing something off brand or anything that's kind of outside of his wheelhouse. And so I just remember people were just especially Brokeback Mountain came out here. So
I
haven't seen
recall that movie yet. Yeah. I've never seen it. Don't want to see it.
But people were really critical about him, especially after that movie came out. And then that first trailer drops.
The teaser trailer?
No.
Oh,
I'm talking the actual trailer where you get to see him on screen for the first time.
Yeah.
And I remember going to I Am Legend, seeing that trailer, and because that trailer came out of nowhere, because this was before I had access to the internet and I could look things up online. So it just kind of came at me out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, there's a trailer for the new Batman movie. And then you just see that whole trailer play out. And I'm like, okay, this is the best part of the I Am Legend movie. It's just seeing this trailer here. But no, it legitimately jaw dropped here. I think that might be the best trailer ever made, potentially, because it pretty much shut up all the naysayers, and it got you hyped for the movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, it did its job. But no, and then, fast forward, months later, it's the first time seeing it. I went and saw this IMAX first time. My family was there. Two of my friends, Seabreck being one of them, was there at that time. And, going into it, I was hyped. But you know how hype can kind of kill something for you.
Oh, yeah.
It just doesn't live up to your expectations. So it absolutely met and exceeded my expectations. About a third of the movie, and my brain just shut off, and just because I was just in awe, and it just became an experience basically here.
Yeah, no, I get that. I see. I don't remember the first trailer, but I do remember the teaser that came out before that, where it was literally, I think it was just a bat symbol.
Yeah,
and it was just voices.
Yeah,
and you could hear Heath Ledger's Joker, and I was just like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
Out of nowhere too.
Yeah,
And I just remember like standing up, I think in the movie theater and clapping. Like I was just like, let's go. I was so excited.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I know I saw it in theaters many times. This is like one of the first movies I ever went back for multiple viewings.
Yeah.
And one of them being the IMAX. And that opening scene is shot in IMAX. And it was amazing.
Yeah, well, especially like when it just like cuts to it to like that whole bank heist scene filling up that entire huge screen. No, it's like it's crazy. And matter of fact, I think this is like the first movie, like actual theatrical release movie that was shot in IMAX using IMAX cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. It was awesome.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember from that theater is it was a little cramped, but
sure,
because it was packed. Everyone wanted to go in and see that movie.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, I just remember it being an awesome time, and I could not wait to see that movie again. Like I saw it the opening night, and then I came back. I think it was Sunday after church or something like that, and a bunch of us from our church, like a bunch, like multiple cars rallied.
Yeah,
like, there's probably like 30 people we had.
Really?
Yeah, and that went over there, and it was awesome.
That's sick.
Yeah. So overall tone, looking at that, and just how does it differ from Begins? And this is kind of an easy question.
A lot.
In every way, basically. Yeah. It's so much different.
Yeah, I mean, because in Batman Begins, I mean, the thing is like it takes more story beats from like a typical comic book movie for the most part. You have like, your first, second, and third act here. You have just more like getting into the origin story, introducing supervillains, stuff like that. But no, this is more of a crime movie compared to like how the first one is just more comic book based here for the most part.
Yeah, and I would say this is truly the epitome of the greatest detective ever. This is like, and that's who Batman is.
Yeah,
is the greatest detective.
World's greatest detective. Yeah.
And so you see that played out through the entire movie.
Yeah, no, which I mean that's one of the things that
it is a noir movie, basically.
It is, yeah. But yeah, no, I mean that's one of the things that like I was thinking about when I first watched this movie was, or just recently rewatching this movie. I'm like, they really actually managed to like put in a lot of like detective elements into this movie especially considering how much is going on and how busy it can be at times here. But but no, I think one of the things that really makes this movie stand out from its predecessor was in Batman Begins, there's a lot more nighttime scenes.
I think all of them are, like, as far as the Batman scenes, yeah.
Yeah, well, not only Batman scenes, but I think like just in general, like the majority of the movie does take place at night. And this movie has a lot more daytime scenes, plus
with Bruce Wayne, yeah.
Bruce Wayne and just in general things, Harvey Dent.
If you think about the trilogy, really it goes from all night to all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Batman's out in broad daylight fighting with the police basically in the next movie.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about that next week.
We will. But also another thing that I think kind of does differentiate the tone in this movie is Gotham is a lot more cleaner, or presented as a lot more cleaner city in this movie compared to how it was in Batman Begins, because you have a lot more ghetto type neighborhoods and all that. Well,
I think the focus of this movie was on
like Maine, like Gotham or
Uptown, richer, and the characters we're looking at were definitely not like living in the ghetto or anything.
Right.
You kind of see that with some of the cops, like family members, like Ramirez, like talking about like, oh, my mom's in the hospital, blah, 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 blah. And
yeah, exactly.
I think that they did a really good job of making us believe it's in the same universe because they're so dynamically different, even though it's the same actors and everything. Like if you go watch Batman Begins again and then watch this movie, it doesn't feel anything like the same movie.
Yeah.
Except it does. It's really weird.
No, it is.
How they did that.
It really is, just because, I mean, the tone is definitely different in the movie, but it still feels like an actual sequel to the movie.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Let's look at a couple of the characters in this movie.
Yeah, so, I mean, essentially this movie has 3 big characters, and that consists of Joker, Batman and Harvey Dent, which, not only these these guys are playing characters, but they're also representing ideas with them.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, starting off with the Joker. So, let's just put it this way. If you didn't tell me Heath Ledger was in this movie and all that, I would have had no idea that was Heath Ledger was playing the Joker if you didn't tell me prior, just because the makeup and his acting are just so good.
His voice, down to his voice, like it's so different.
No, he completely transformed himself for this movie, and it's absolutely fantastic. But I mean, I think he is easily the best live action Joker and possibly best Joker performance here.
Yeah, I think he is too.
Yeah, I mean, scariest Joker by far. I think he's scarier than Joaquin Phoenix's Joker just because he's just so much more calculated and menacing, even though like Joaquin is just very unhinged and
Joaquin is like a dumb version of this Joker.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, essentially Joaquin kind of channels that same energy, but he just has like more like brutal on-screen violence for the most part.
That's about it.
But
Heath is the superior Joker.
Yeah. But I mean, that being said, even though like this Joker is like brutal and scary, he still knows how to make you laugh, which is like
he has a ton of one-liners.
He does. And like even just like little subtle things like underappreciated.
I looked at your
lines.
underappreciated lines, and those are all like my favorite lines in the movie.
Like when he's talking to like the mob bosses about like they're talking about like how his suit
he's a freak and he's dressed up in purple or whatever.
Yeah, like a cheap purple suit or something like that. He's like, oh, by the way, the suit wasn't cheap. You ought to know, you bought it here.
Yeah, this is after he stole all the money from him.
Exactly. And then later on that scene, he's kind of making his exit while he has like those grenades strapped to his suit
like,
coat.
Up,
let's not blow this out of proportion. And then he's like, you think you can steal from us and just walk away? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's literally like, yeah.
It's just
that's
like
all he said.
Just very subtle, he just captures that line so well. And then another one, when Harvey Dent is like having that talk with him in the hospital. Yeah. And he's like blaming him for like everything that's happened. He's like, your men, your plan. He's like, do I really look like a guy with a plan? And he's just sitting there in the nurse's outfit.
Yeah. Oh, okay. The best part is when he's just like, he's sitting there. He's like, hi. Like there's it's
like
gonna
awkward tension.
Yeah.
It's so
I think that's the best line in the whole movie, to be honest. Like just the setup and how it was like, because obviously he talks about being a guy with a plan. He is a guy with a plan. He's a mastermind.
Oh no, he absolutely is. I mean, but he sold it to him that he's like, no, I'm just a dog chasing cars. I don't know what I would do with it if I got one. I just do things here. But no, and but one of the things I think that really sold Heath Ledger in this movie early on, I mean, obviously the bank heist scene is great.
Yeah.
But I think what really established like, okay, this is not Jack Nicholson we're talking about here.
No.
That is the pencil scene.
Oh, yeah. You want to see a magic trick?
I'm going to make this pencil
disappear.
Like, I remember when that scene happened, everybody started clapping at that point. Like, everybody was so, like, surprised and just hyped off of that.
Well, what kind of guy goes into a meeting like that and can literally walk out alive?
Yeah.
The Joker.
Yeah, exactly. But, no, I mean, but kind of getting into a little bit more of the comic book origin of it here. So it really does take some elements from the Killing Joke here. I mean, one of the main things about the Killing Joke or Joker's motivation is he is out to prove that it only takes a person one bad day to get as bad as he is, to get as deranged and insane or just morally bankrupt as he is here. And there's even also kind of like a brief nod to like, his origin story being like kind of a multiple choice thing where he's like telling the different stories about how he got the scars and all that here. But it also kind of really dives into like the Joker and Batman's dichotomy and similarities, how they're different, but how they're also the same or similar as well here. Kind of two sides of the coin, which,
And I mean, it's 100% accurate. Like, I mean, they are two sides of a coin. I mean, it obviously is a shame that Heath passed and we didn't get any more of these movies, but
yeah, no.
yeah, I think that the Joker really, I mean, for all intents and purpose, like the Joker represents chaos. The Joker represents someone who is extremely intelligent and super methodical and appears as if it's all happening by some wave of chaos. He wants to create chaos in the world. He wants to kind of overthrow what is now the system, basically.
Essentially, yeah.
He wants to turn it on its head, and I think part of it wants to see, like you're saying, kind of people on their worst day can be just like me.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you see that with every pretty much every major plot or plan that he hatches here, because at first he's trying to have Batman succumb to being like him. He's like, hey, you either turn yourself in or people are going to start dying one by one here. And then after that, it's like, okay, now you got to choose between Harvey Dent or Rachel Dawes here.
Dude, yeah, I know. It's crazy.
And then he goes on even further. It says like, okay, this guy who's trying to reveal Batman's identity, I don't want him to do that. So you need to
kill him.
The citizens of Gotham need to kill him, or I'm going to blow up a hospital.
Yeah.
And then the boat scene, which is like kind of like the pinnacle of like, of showing like what he wants to do. Because it's not just like necessarily like him just necessarily creating chaos. I mean, I think that's definitely one of the things he's doing, but it's also about him exposing morality, because he has that line in the movie that he says like, their morals, their code, it's a bad joke here. And, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve. And, the only sensible way to live in this world is without rules here.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to show like the people who cling to like ideals or cling to like a better idea of something, that no, you're just as bad as me. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's really like an interesting take that, considering how like, what we've thought of the Joker before, because they really made him like essentially a terrorist in this movie. And no, I mean, especially kind of given the time that this movie came out, this was like, when terrorism was like kind of a new thing that was kind of approaching in like the US and stuff like that. 9/11 happened like, a couple years prior to this movie coming out here. So yeah, no, it's really interesting how they kind of like tied that in with like, current day affairs.
Yeah, no, I dug it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job of capturing all the elements and really making the Joker someone who can almost best Batman.
No, and that's what you want to see, and I think that's one of the things that Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Oh, he wouldn't be able to do jack to Batman.
Exactly. I mean, it's like if you took Joaquin Phoenix's Joker as he was by the end of that movie, he wouldn't be able to go toe to toe with Batman.
Nothing.
No.
Maybe when he's a child and he doesn't have any training.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah.
All right, let's move on to Batman.
All right. So for one,
he's the Dark Knight.
He's the Dark Knight, exactly. Silent guardian, watchful protector. But let's start off with him getting the new suit here.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of critical. I think they understood what they had to do with making that, because we talked about the shots they had to do in order for it to make it seem
quick
more
cuts and all that.
Yeah, I think they wanted to stay away from that, do more wide angle fight scenes, and so you see that in the garage, you see that in the club, in the different buildings that they go into, and so it served the plot. It also served the purpose of him like actually needing a more mobile suit.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting because originally they wanted to make a kind of a more mobile bat suit in Batman Begins, but they ran out of time, so they just had to kind of go with what they had with that here. But no, I mean, when you start out, you kind of get to see like, yeah, Batman like in the garage. He's kind of stiffer, slower, and all that. But then like he gets the suit, and then he's like jumping off ledges and doing all sorts of crazy stuff here. But no, it's great. I think this is probably like the most mobile that we've seen Batman like in movies before here. I mean, Ben Affleck definitely is more mobile in like the warehouse fight scene in Batman v Superman here, but I think this is like kind of like the kind of getting the best of both worlds, where you get the mobility, but you still have that armor feel to it. Here.
Totally.
Yeah. No, I think there's some really banger shots of Batman in this movie. Like there's that one scene where he's like in the rubble, like grabbing the coin where like
he's reaching into the rubble.
Yeah, reaching into the rubble, but like
standing there.
Yeah, he's just standing there. The cape's flowing, and I'm like,
very iconic Batman.
I'm like, that's so cool. Here.
Yeah,
and you know, just other things like his cape flying in the wind when he's on the Batpod and all that. And they didn't know if that they were going to be able to do that for the movie because they thought that the cape might get like caught in the wheel or something like that. So they were originally going to have like a kind of like a backpack that
folded up into.
Yeah, it would fold up into kind of like how you see right before he like jumps off the skyscraper and then it pops out. Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, and then like speaking of that, him just like jumping off the skyscraper and just
dope.
So
because that was all shot in IMAX too.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa,
yeah,
this is sick.
Exactly. But kind of getting more into like the specifics of like the character himself. So I really loved how much Bruce Wayne played up his charade of being the playboy here.
Oh yeah,
it's so good. Like he's
the prima ballerina. On his date,
absconding the whole like Russian ballet
to go on a boat trip to serve his own purpose
for an alibi.
Right,
and then.
I mean, when you're a billionaire, that's like dimes, you know?
Exactly.
So, for an alibi to go to China. Yeah, essentially.
Exactly. But then, and then like when he's, making his entrance to the fundraiser, he's coming in via helicopter on his own penthouse. Yep. He's got 4 women on his arm here.
Yeah, I mean, you have to.
You know, when in Rome.
Yep.
But no, I really like how much they kind of played it up to it. But, one of the things I really like in this movie that kind of involves Batman is he gets pushed to the limit in this movie. You know, not just...
Well, I mean, the Joker's saying, you know, you're going to have to break that one rule you have.
Right, exactly.
In order to save these people.
Exactly.
He keeps saying it throughout the movie. He's like, you're going to have to break your one rule.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, pretty much getting to the breaking point of, you know, like... doing away with his one rule. And I mean, historically, that's some of the best Batman material that we've gotten from the comics. Like there's that one part in Hush wherein he's like this close to killing the Joker. And then there's also that part in Dark Knight Returns where he is like premeditated, like, okay, I'm going to kill the Joker this time because I've let him, you know, go, I've let him run free for so long that I can't let this happen anymore. I've essentially become responsible for all the deaths that, you know, he's caused here by not killing him. And no, I think that's just like some of the most interesting and like some of the best like material that we get. And they definitely capture that here because there's like at one point in the movie, especially in that interrogation scene where you're like, oh, is he going to actually like kill this guy? Yeah.
That scene's dope.
Oh, it's so good.
When they, for those of you guys who don't know, we're talking about when Gordon is interrogating him in the very dark interrogation room, and then he leaves and the lights turn on and he's right behind him and slams his head against the table.
Yeah. No, I mean,
he's like, ow. He's like, you can't do that to the
the victim gets all fuzzy. You can't feel the next hit. And then but no, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more on that a little bit later, but no, I mean, I think you know, a very quick scene in this movie, but I think it really captures like, you know, a lot of Batman's character in it is the part where he's interrogating Maroni. He's holding him up on the fire escape.
That's great.
And you know,
Salvatore Maroni takes over for the Falcone crime syndicate after Falcone's locked up.
Yep. But basically, Maroni is saying like, you know, this height's not you know, high enough up for me to kill me. So if you're trying to threaten me, you know, you might need to pick a better spot because it's not going to kill me. He's like, I'm counting on it. And he just
throws
drops
him.
It's breaks
his legs.
So good. But yeah, but it just kind of captures that, Batman he's a guy that is, he's a badass for one, but he also has that moral code here that he adheres to religiously for the most part. I mean, there's a little bit of debate in these movies. Like,
he's a bad mamma jamma.
He is. But no, I mean, I think Batman kind of, like, in terms of, like, what ideas or, what he represents is, like, he represents the idea that the system can work, but it's not enough here because obviously the system has become corrupt through, like, dirty cops, politicians, judges, and stuff like that. So he has to come out and do something to make it happen. He has to kind of be, like, essentially the people who rise up and make a change, for, so to speak.
Right, yeah, because, I mean, with how corrupt the system is, that's all that they're left with, basically. Gordon being one of the only clean cops in that whole place.
Yep.
And then, Batman, what he's doing is working. And then you get this White Knight, Harvey Dent, coming in.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, essentially, once Bruce recognizes, oh my gosh, like, this guy could actually do way more than me. And they do through the different, like the Rico conspiracy thing.
Right, exactly.
And they put away all these guys. It's like, he was actually doing work. Like,
no, he absolutely was.
Hard work.
And he even says, like, Harvey is, like, the hero that
he's like, I don't have to be Batman anymore.
That they deserves because he can do this without wearing a mask. He's, essentially the end game for this grand plan that I have to save Gotham here.
Right.
Yeah. But speaking of the man himself, Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
Harvey Dent. So Aaron Eckhart, the guy who plays him, I think he nails traditional Harvey Dent. Like,
yeah, he does a good job.
I mean, he's ambitious and idealistic.
Definitely better than Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, well, Billy D. Williams was only for 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was hardly in it. He was supposed to be in 2, but he turned it down, I guess.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, Batman Returns.
Yeah, but
something like that.
And we got Tommy Lee Jones. Doing his best Jack Nicholson impression, pretty much. But no, I mean, so this kind of gives us his take on Two-Face is more kind of like a revenge-filled, intense Two-Face, which typically is not what you get from, like, the traditional, like, Two-Face from the comics, because he's kind of more indecisive, kind of dual personality based for the most part here.
I mean, and it's foreshadowed throughout with that quote, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, for those of you who don't know who Harvey Dent was, it would be a shock to you, I feel like, for this movie.
Yeah.
Of him becoming Two-Face.
Yeah, but I mean,
I was surprised he actually became Two-Face because we got really far in the movie.
Yeah, like halfway through the movie.
No, it was way more than halfway.
Maybe
like it was almost the end when he became Two-Face. There's probably like 40 minutes left of the movie.
Yeah.
When he's kind of doing his thing.
Yeah, you are correct on that front. But no, But no, I think like they definitely took like a lot of inspiration from The Long Halloween, because essentially, if you haven't read The Long Halloween, it's basically kind of like chronicling Harvey Dent's life as a DA into like his fall to becoming Two-Face here, and so you kind of get to see like just all those steps in between that he took in order to like essentially get to where he is at, basically. But
yeah.
But no, I mean, he honestly, I think he's very underappreciated in this movie, and it's kind of like it's not hard to see why, just because you have Heath Ledger's Joker stealing the show every scene he's in.
I mean, I think he still does a great job.
Oh, I absolutely think he does a great job. But yeah, I mean, he creates some very intense moments, like the scene with like Gordon and his family and all that, like.
I know, yeah.
I mean, yeah. But no, it's I mean, essentially like what Harvey Dent's like what he represents is essentially the idea that the system can work here. But until it doesn't here.
And anyone's corruptible. That's what the Joker really proves with I mean, Harvey was a big pawn in his scheme. Like,
big time, yeah.
He's like, oh, this guy thinks he's incorruptible. I'm going to corrupt him.
Yeah, exactly.
And he does.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that my own perspective on that is he turns way too quickly, similar to Kylo Ren turning to Ben Solo. Like, it's literally It happens on a dime almost.
Or a coin.
Yeah, pretty much. Because you get the death of the worst character in this whole thing, Rachel Dawes. Which, I mean, I get it. Like, especially if this guy were to kill someone you loved, I'm sure anyone would go revenge mode and try to kill him.
Sure.
But, I mean, he turns on everyone. Like, and I understand, like, he obviously has reason to, because he thinks, like, Ramirez is corrupt and Gordon didn't do anything about him, so he's holding him responsible.
Yeah.
He thinks X, Y, and Z. But he goes from, like, this very clean-cut, like, orderly man to this psychopath by the end of the movie.
Yeah. See, I don't quite agree with you on that, because, I mean, I definitely think, like, yeah, I mean, for one, it is a movie. You know, you only have a certain amount of screen time to actually, like, you know, make things happen here, which at points that does kind of make it rush. It's not going to be like, you know, Breaking Bad, where you have, like, essentially 5 seasons to show how Walter White becomes the villain, basically.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we're not writers, but if they were to start his turn and he does turn in this movie but didn't die.
Yeah.
And... like he gets away and that's the beginning of it, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah, well, because initially I thought like they were going to use him for the third movie here. That this was going to be them setting him up here, but no, I mean, I think you do see obviously it is foreshadowed, like, you know, with the line, you know, you either die a hero or you lived long enough to see yourself become the villain type thing. But,
talking about the duality within him.
But another thing I think they do kind of foreshadow too is like, so when Gordon like essentially gets offed in the movie, you know, and you think that he's dead, and then the next target is Rachel Dawes. He takes the honor guard that got captured, and he goes and interrogates him himself here. Yeah, and I mean, I think you kind of get to. You're seeing a little bit of like
the lengths he'll go to protect the ones he loves.
Well, essentially, yeah, because he's you're seeing him like, you know, kind of like starting to crack, because it's like, okay, the system is. I try to do things by the book. I try to follow the system. Now, the guy that I was working for is now dead because of it, and the person I love most is in danger. Yeah. So. Now I need to, like, you know, adapt. So, I mean, you do see that willingness to, like, kind of go more off the deep end.
You do. I just feel like it's a little quick.
Yeah. But, I mean, they do foreshadow, like, or, like, do kind of mention beforehand, like, telling him how he has, like, issues with Gordon, like, the cops that he has working under him. And essentially, he essentially blames,
investigate all of them in internal affairs.
Yeah, and he essentially blames Gordon for exactly like
giving these people another chance, basically,
or, you know, not handling it like he wanted him to. And like Gordon's like, well, if I was only working with the people who were cleared by internal affairs or who were not investigated by internal affairs, I'd be the only one on the police force, basically.
Yeah, which is scary.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get the frustration. I mean, he in and of himself has a messiah complex too. It's like, you either do it my way or I'm gonna be pissed off at you. Yeah. So, I mean, he's very similar to Bruce in those respects.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. Other than that, I think he's a great character. Yeah. Eckhart does a great job with him. Let's talk about some action scenes. You know, these are the bread and butter, I feel like, of these movies, and really why people go to see these movies.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, so I mean, your typical comic book movie, I feel like, from what I've seen, you know, done in the past, you have 3 major action scenes here. You know, you have like an action scene towards the beginning, something in the middle, then the final confrontation with like the hero and the villain for the most part. This movie kind of does not adhere to that rule whatsoever. There's like,
no, it's Batman.
It's action, like pretty much like almost like every like 5 to 10 minutes. There's always like a tense or just like a really notable action scene. But like some of the most notable action scenes that we got in here is starting off the bank heist.
Yep, very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be one of the best bank robbery scenes ever filmed here, just because it's, you know, you get the introduction to the Joker. You get to see, kind of like the Joker's mindset in terms of like being the guy that planned this whole thing off,
and he was gonna be the only one left.
Right, exactly. It has that twist where it wasn't just gonna be like a standard like, they rob the bank, they run into some trouble, they adapt, and then they get away. It's like, no, this is essentially everything went according to plan with this one, and basically everybody is getting offed one by one till there's only one man left, and it turns out to be the Joker here. But I think great way to set up the movie, and then literally like probably 2-3 minutes go by, and then you're introduced to another action scene, which is the garage scene.
Yeah, I love that scene
where you first see Batman. Scarecrow shows up. He's basically the loose end that was left hanging in Batman Begins.
Yep.
And you have a bunch of these fake Batman.
Yeah, with guns.
With guns, just shooting people up here.
Yeah. It's like, what makes you different? He's like,
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Yeah, which we have a whole history of that.
We do have a history of that.
Dorian, if you would like to share the story.
I would not.
I will then.
All right.
No. Long story short, me and Dorian had this disagreement for, honestly...
For a while.
Maybe a year? I don't know.
I forget how long.
It was a long time, but then we put on the subtitles and stuff. So Dorian... I was quoting the movie, and Dorian said something like, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not wearing... It's because I'm not wearing hockey pads. And you're like, yeah, hockey pants. I'm like, what? And then I think we were at like Red Robin or something, and we had like a discussion, and it's like,
yeah.
Then we went on the internet, and it's like a thing. Like people legit thought it was hockey pants.
Yeah.
And then I think we watched the subtitles, and for sure it was hockey pads.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah,
that scene was great because Batman beats them up, and the bad guys takes on the bad guys.
Exactly. Well, and yeah, you also, like we mentioned earlier, you get to understand the necessity for the new Batman suit and
the symbol
and how they incorporate that into the story. But,
totally.
But you also have like great scenes where like he's like hanging off the side of Scarecrow's van, and he's like trying to cut his way into it, which is great. And then he eventually, just like jumps down and lands on the van.
That was sick. Yeah,
that was so cool.
Just that whole scene is awesome.
Yeah, so good. Up next, the China scene. So basically, China. So
they're secretive people, Dorian.
So I've been told.
Yeah.
But so this is pretty much like the only like stealth scene we get in this movie here, which like Batman Begins like had like quite a few of them. Like this is like probably the only one that we get here, which is kind of a shame. But I mean, I get it. It wouldn't, if you had more stealth scenes in this movie, I don't think it would have served the story all that well. But no, it's it really shows Batman's pre-planning ability. Because,
big time.
I mean,
similar to the Joker.
Exactly, but like you had, even before like he goes to China, he's already kind of planning things out, saying like, okay,
Danny Glover, you're gonna go and meet with this guy and leave your cell phone in there and have another cell phone so that I could go. They could have like the sonar thing,
right?
Basically in the building.
Yeah, well, and then also not to mention too, it's like they have, they're talking about like, okay, so I need to jump out of an airplane. He's like, okay, I got something for that. I also need to get back into
I've
it
seen Zelda
without it landing here.
Yeah,
Skyhook, exactly. And then also like, kind of talking about like, okay, so we got this plane in Arizona. Who's going to man it? It's like, oh, we're going to get South Korean smugglers. They, know how to handle this type of thing. And then like, you get to the actual scene itself, and then he's like setting up like the sticky bombs. Like,
oh yeah, those are dope.
Yeah. And then, flies down and then pulls out the Skyhook. Like after he beats up all the guys,
and they're all gunpoint at him he's got basically so they go to China to get the what's his name, Lau, who's like the guy handling all the mob's money, and they need the mob's money to like convict all these people of like the conspiracy, and so Batman's like, well, I don't have jurisdiction, so I'm going to China to get this guy because they won't extradite one of their own. He gets him, he drops him off as a nice little present wrapped up for Gordon and his men.
Exactly.
But yeah, super cool scene.
Like I was really surprised first time I saw like how like what the Skyhook actually did. Because at first you're like, okay, what is he doing here?
Right, because they don't explain it really.
No, they just say, oh, there's this thing that
Special forces used to get out of hot zones in one of the wars. I think Vietnam, maybe. I don't know.
They just said in the 60s or
Yeah.
something like that. It's called Skyhook. We could look into that here. And so, but then they don't like go into detail and explain, okay, this is what this is actually doing. They just mention it, you see it, and then you're just like, okay, that was dope.
That was sick. Yeah.
But probably the best action scene in this movie, like in terms of just like the sheer action spectacle alone, probably has to be the armored truck chase scene here, I would say.
Yeah, the most intense I think of it. Yeah, I think you're right, and it's a fun time.
Yeah, I mentioned on our last Thursday throwback is I think the vehicle chase scenes in this trilogy are the best action scenes.
Yeah,
for the most part. But so here's the thing. I mean, obviously the scene is Harvey Dent is taking the fall for Batman. He's in the armored truck. The Joker is pursuing him. He's bringing out like submachine guns, shotguns, and rocket launchers.
Yeah.
In order to
is that a bazooka?
Yeah, exactly. In order to take down or kill Harvey Dent, basically.
Yeah.
And then Batman shows up and he essentially takes a bullet for.
He jumps in the way of the rocket. Thusly destroying the Batmobile.
Yeah, so when that scene was happening for the first time, you see him like basically like crashing through like the walls with the Batmobile, just like just pretty much jacked up beyond repair. And
like, what's he gonna do now?
Well, yeah, and so you just see that screen that says like, oh, damage catastrophic. I'm like, well, what you gonna do now, man? And then
the wheel starts burning out.
Well, yeah, then it says eject sequence initiated. I'm like, wait, what? And then like, yeah, the wheel starts burning out. I'm like, what is he doing? You idiot. You need to go stop him right now. Get your grapple hook, go fly around, do something. and then like you see the guns pop out. I'm like, wait, oh, something's gonna happen. And then like he pops out. And I'm just like, okay. That was the coolest thing I ever seen in my life.
Pretty much.
I'm like,
I think he's mobbing around on the Batpod. I like calling the Bat bike. It just,
I mean, from the comics, it's called the Bat.
In our in a studio, we have a huge Dark Knight cutout from the movie with the Batpod on there with the guns and everything. It's pretty cool.
It is glorious.
Yeah.
But, no, it is. Like I lost my mind when I saw that for the first time watching this movie, and the Batpod is so cool just because obviously it makes Batman look cool with the cape flying in the wind, like I mentioned. But he's also going through like narrow alleyways with it. He's going through like shopping malls and like stuff, just being like super mobile with it.
Yeah,
and then.
Batman doesn't give an F about insurance because he's breaking all their mirrors.
He does not. I mean,
he's driving between them.
But let's be honest. But let's be honest. Like, what superhero does? I mean, have you seen Man of Steel?
Oh yeah, I know.
But no, and it's also one of those things where it's just like, I mean, then you cap it off with him flipping the truck.
I know, that was insane.
And I mean, they actually flipped the truck.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie, like, if they can do it in real life, they do it. And it's so cool.
Well, and I think that this too plays a really integral part of the movie of the Joker literally pushing Batman pretty much as far as he can go.
Oh yeah,
because he's like, I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Like he's like talking to himself, like shooting at him, and he's like, like riding on the Bat bike, and he's just like, I mean, I thought he was gonna do something, like, and I was just like, oh man, and he just bails basically.
Christian.
Yeah, Christian bails on it. And then we get the big reveal that Gordon
is alive
and was driving that truck.
Yeah. No, it's
which is a genius because I didn't get it when I first watched it. I was like, why did he do that? And then because his name was on the list too, basically, potentially coming up next.
Well, not to mention if he saved the mayor and thwarted Joker's plan, Joker probably was not going to be about that. So
No,
he'd
he'd
target
target
him
him.
or his family. So yeah, no, it's actually one of those things where like, yeah, if you have I feel like the death fake out is something that's really just done for shock value, and there's not like,
big time, because I was like, what?
and there's not like usually something that serves a purpose or something that makes logical sense for it. But in this movie, they absolutely justified exactly why they did it here, and so
For sure.
yeah,
They did a great job with it.
no, absolutely. But and then the next notable scene on this list is the Pruitt building, which is where he uses a sonar and has his final confrontation with the Joker.
Yep.
Which, I mean, the sonar goggles pretty much finally gives us our Batman eyes that we get from the comics, where he
Like
has
the
like
white.
kind of, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a whitish blue, but I mean,
Pretty much, yeah. It
Yeah.
does give us that.
yeah. Which, I mean, I kind of wish like we would actually get a live action movie where that was just the thing all the time. I mean, I get that they want to,
Yeah.
most actors want to have them like, have their eyes captured to like kind of help sell like a performance or something like that. But I still think you could do it here. I mean, if you saw the Judge Dredd movie that came out not too long ago, you never see his face or his eyes, but Carl Urban nails it just with like the lower half of his face here.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they do it in BVS with his suit,
oh yeah, when he has like the
metal armor.
yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I mean, it's not all the time, but
No, it's not all the time, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant twist on like having like, the scene starts out, you think it's going to be pretty straightforward. There's, hostages, and then there's the Joker's men that are dressed up as clowns.
yeah.
Holding people hostage, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty simple, straightforward affair. But then there's the twist that no, the people who are dressed up as clowns are actually the hostages,
And the doctors are the bad guys.
and
And SWAT doesn't know that.
And SWAT doesn't know
So
that.
Batman has to take out SWAT as well.
And the Joker's men. So, I mean, and yeah, you really get to see the mobility of this suit like really come to full fruition in this, because like there's that one part where he like shoots his grappling hook at one of the
then
SWAT guys,
dives off.
and dives off the stairwell,
Saving
the two hostages and all
Yeah.
that. I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah, it was sick.
No, it's so good. And then, but no, and then this fight, I would say probably more than any like live action fight that we've seen from Batman this far, and probably even beyond this here is like, this is like one that highlights him using his hand to hand combat skills in tandem with his gadgets.
Yeah,
here.
totally.
And I think it's still the best example that does this here by far.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah. But I think, this scene is kind of like the pinnacle of like what this movie is building towards too, because we kind of talked about like how this movie is really about the Joker testing people, society, individuals with like the idea of morality here. And this last dilemma is like saying, hey, you either hold on to your ideals or you survive. So you get to choose on this one here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was good. It was an awesome scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like that part with the Joker and him
When
falling, and he's like, okay, I got to save him type of thing again.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't give him the satisfaction of like being corrupted,
Right.
basically. Yeah.
Yep. Which I like. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a good message too.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's look at kind of our favorite kind of moments, scenes, even the characters, some lines from the movie. I think we talked about most of them already, but I love the crime scenes the Joker leaves behind.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, oh, I killed these people. It's like, I'm setting up my next deaths.
Well, and that's like one of the things that I really thought that was like really clever, just because that's something that you see featured heavily in like the Adam West Batman, where like the criminals will leave a clue for Batman to follow. That way they can come try to stop him here. But like, this is like the Joker, like being like more like, okay, I am taunting you
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'm basically making you like going in with the mindset and doing everything you can do to prepare, but I'm still going to be a few steps ahead of you and succeed anyway here, basically.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find my note on even down to like the detail, like the calling card. Well, it says, "Will the real Batman please stand up?"
Yeah.
And that's another one-liner by the Joker, who's literally quoting Eminem.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, like,
Yeah.
the Joker just has so many good lines in this movie.
Oh, so many good lines. Yeah.
But yeah, I like the call and repeats again. I talked about this in the first one, but you can either die a hero or see yourself, or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yep.
And then even you're gonna have to break your rule type of thing.
Yep.
What was the other one? I think there was one with Batman has no limitations type of thing.
Yeah, Batman has no limits.
Yeah, and then there's a couple more throughout the movie, but I just love that kind of the duality of those phrases. And at the beginning they mean something else, at the end they mean something completely different, almost.
Well, and another one too is this isn't necessarily in the movie, but it's going back to Batman Begins, where Rachel Dawes is saying like, maybe when the day comes when Gotham no longer needs Batman, but then she gets to the point where it says, now I've realized
the city will never.
Well, the day will come where you no longer need Batman, basically.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Play on it. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good to this movie, and so I mean we've covered a lot of it. I like kind of how ballsy the Joker is.
Oh, he's super ballsy.
Like, he doesn't have a crew.
No.
And he's taking down the mob.
He killed his crew.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what are you doing? And then he hires those. Okay. We'll get to that. Never mind. It's a scene that's one of the only scenes I don't like in this movie.
Yeah.
And then again, like, you think you could walk in here and just leave alive? And he's like, yeah. But yeah, I would say favorite moment scenes is most of the movie for me.
Yeah, I mean,
characters are the 3 or 4, I guess, like Gordon, Dent, Batman, and Joker.
Yeah. I mean, for favorite moments and scenes, I put the whole movie. I mean, but if I am going to get into like some specifics on like what is like some of the best scenes of this movie, I mean, I would have to say the Joker's interrogation scene. We talked about it briefly, but it is going to be the gold standard that every Batman and Joker scene will be judged by going forward here.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, because
it's solid.
Not only do you get like a great Batman interrogation scene, but you also get to see Joker and Batman interact and like actually sit down and have like a conversation and also kind of talk about like what makes them different.
Right.
And not to mention that scene is intense as everything.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh yeah.
But no, it's I think the 2 boat scenes is a brilliant way to close out like Joker's series of dilemmas here, just because again, essentially his best weapon in his arsenal is not like the gunpowder, it's not like a knife or something like that. It's using a dilemma against people in order for them to make a choice on 2 really bad situations here.
Yeah.
And no, I think it's I think another thing about this movie that with this new rewatch that I just did, I think stand out to me is Bruce's and Alfred's relationship here, because I think you really get to highlight and see what their relationship is in the comics here, because you're kind of building towards that in Batman Begins, and then you could have gotten more of that with The Dark Knight Rises, even though he leaves like pretty much like in the first third of the movie here.
Yeah.
But no, it's one of those things where I feel like, yeah, you get like the part where they're really like invested in each other, but at the same time they don't always agree on like what is the best way to do things here. He's trying to tell them like, hey, you need to know your limits. I don't want to tell you this, but this is going to be like something that you might have to realize someday here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so the scene, another call and repeat I was just thinking through was like, and even like comes to fruition at the beginning and the end of the movie, But he essentially wants the new armor to be more mobile and to stand up against dog, like because they had dogs. He's like, my dogs are hungry.
Yeah.
And he gets jacked up from that.
Yeah.
And then Alfred's kind of asking him like, what happened? And he's like, it was a dog. And he kind of like looks at him like, come on,
big dog.
He's like, it was a big dog. And then at the end, the Joker has dogs.
Yep, exactly.
And so you're kind of like, and then he uses the blades basically to get him off.
Yeah, exactly.
That comes down to one of your favorite quotes that
it does come down to.
We'll talk about later, but
I
agree with you. I think that the boat scene's awesome. I did not expect it to turn out the way it did. As far as like, neither of them choosing to kill the other ones.
No, dude, there are so many parts in this movie that even
There's
like
so many twists. Really,
so many twists here, but there's so many parts in this movie that it doesn't matter how many times I watch it, I still get goosebumps when I watch it. Like the boat scene where they're like,
the big guy gets up and is like, you're gonna give that to me because I'm gonna do what you should have done 20 minutes ago.
And then like he throws it out the window. It's like, oh my gosh, but no, it's the kitchen scene. I mean, I'm talking like the first part where he meets the mob here. That will go down as a classic scene.
Oh yeah,
just because not only people just highlight the pencil trick part of that scene. And
that whole scene's dope,
but the whole scene is so great. He's like, a year ago, these cops and lawyers wouldn't dare cross any of you.
Yeah, what happened?
Did your balls drop off? It's just like, it's so good.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about our least favorite moments, scenes, and characters.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it because you didn't even put anything in.
I really tried to be kind of objective because here's the thing. I am as biased as everything when it comes to this movie. But, most of the things that I thought of that were like, that I wasn't too crazy about, they're just like super minor things here.
I would agree with you. My only thing is I remember watching this movie and I didn't know some of the recasting they did, at least for one specific character. And I was like, who is this lady?
Yeah.
She doesn't look anything like Rachel Dawes. And it was Rachel Dawes. And I was like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
And basically, my least favorite scenes are any scenes Rachel's in because I can't stand her voice either.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, I will say Katie Holmes is definitely the superior Rachel Dawes.
Oh, big time.
One. But oddly enough, like in this rewatch, I didn't mind her as much, but I do feel like your criticism is valid. She is not like the Rachel Dawes that we met in Batman Begins, and yeah.
Yeah, and then my other one would be when that mob guy puts out a hit on the Joker, and it was like,
gamble
500, 500. Was it 500K dead, a million alive?
Yeah.
And then so they bring these punk kids in, and they just let them walk in with a body bag, or with Joker in the body bag, basically. Yep. And he's just like, dead, that's 500. And he goes, how about alive?
Yep.
And he pops out of it, and he holds the knife to his mouth. Mm-hmm. That's where we get the first, you want to know how I got these scars?
And the why so serious line.
Yeah, why so serious? Yeah. And then it was just weird to me, number one, that they let those punk kids walk in with guns.
Yeah, no, that's not exactly something that was probably
you pat those guys down.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then how does he kill them?
So
because if you cut someone in the mouth, they don't die.
No, they don't. So
did he snap his neck or something?
How I interpret that is he probably slit his throat, but because they wanted to keep it PG-13, they kind of edited it or something.
Yeah, I just didn't get it. I was like,
yeah,
that makes sense, but I was just like, what the heck?
Yeah,
that was probably one of the biggest plot devices where I was just like, come on, really, really,
yeah.
And I just hate the fact that these punk kids bested these mobsters. I was like, there's no way. It's not happening.
They're thugs with guns here, you know. But all right, so let's move on to some of our favorite quotes going on in this movie. So you already mentioned, I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
One of the ones that I really like that I don't think gets enough credit is when Joker's at the fundraiser and he's crashing it, and he's talking to Rachel Dawes. Rachel, I think, knees him in the groin or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
And then he's like, oh, a little fighting, yeah, I like that. And then Batman's like, then you're gonna love me.
Yeah, out of nowhere, he's just there. That's a great line. I love that line.
It's great, yeah. But yeah, another one that I really appreciate, like I kind of talked about it earlier, but it's like, Maroni's like, from this height, a fall wouldn't kill me. And then Batman just says, I'm counting on it. It just drops him. I mean,
yeah. I think we both have this quote, but, or wait. Yeah, we talked about that one, but, I love when Heath Ledger walks into, because you don't see his face, you just see like a nurse outfit walk in.
Oh yeah, well,
and then
you just see the back.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then he turns around and it's him in like a women's nurse outfit
and a wig.
Yeah, with the like a wig on and his Joker makeup, and he's just like.
Not only that, it's
hi.
Yeah, it's not like a traditional nurse outfit like scrubs or anything. It's like
a sexy nurse's outfit.
Kind of, yeah, like
a short skirt,
like something from like the 60s or 50s or something like that. Yeah, but no, it's so funny.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think another.
Oh,
one,
you want to know how I got these scars?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but another one that I put on here is right at the very end when Joker's about to tell his third story about how he got the scars and about to blow up the boat at the same time. Batman says, "No, but I know how you got these," and he just shoots him in the face.
Yeah, with the
spikes. No,
that was
great.
sick.
It's so good.
All right, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go through. I have some extra notes, but
sure, yeah.
Just kind of wrapping up, I guess, with our final thoughts. I love the pacing of the movie. I love the actors in the movie, except for Rachel Dawes.
Sure.
Just what the movie's message is. I love a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think most of, the more I think about the different ways the Joker sets up those crime scenes is like unreal to me. Like, not in an unrealistic standpoint, but just like how
much planning. And
oh my gosh,
has to go into
the
that.
DNA on the cards, all that stuff. I was just like, man,
yeah.
This was another kind of unrealistic scene where I was like, come on. Yeah. Okay, so when the Joker lets Rachel fall and he goes after her and they're spinning out and they just land on the car broke their fall.
Sure.
From a 60-story building or however many stories that building is.
Yeah. So I mean
100% either dead or
like
broken.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how I've always interpreted that scene is like he's trying to use his cape to slow down the fall here, which I mean, granted, like it
wouldn't work.
They don't really like do a great job in that movie, really like kind of showing or demonstrating like that's what he was doing. You just kind of just see it unfold in front of you.
He's just kind of flailing around a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the scene too with Lucius. So there's this accountant that works for Bruce basically, and he's like, "Yeah, I ran the numbers and something doesn't check out." And then he's basically blackmailing Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
exactly. To Lucius.
Exactly.
He goes, "I want $1 million for the rest of my life, or $5 million a year."
10 million.
Oh, 10 million a year. Yeah. And he goes, and then Lucius is like, "So let me get this straight. You think your boss is a vigilante who runs around and beats people up, and you're blackmailing him?" And he's just like, the guy's like, you kind of see his like swagger change a little bit, and he's just like, "Good luck."
Yeah, yeah. Just
he's like, "Let me just take those and get out of here."
Well, it's just like he's just like the realization on his face is like,
it's priceless. That guy does a great job of that.
Instantly noticeable. But not only that, but it's like just a quick shout out about that whole dynamic of that movie is like, you think that's just like put in there as like kind of a joke or as a way to like kind of explain that, yeah, there are different ways that people could find out that Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Right.
But then it actually leads into like a major plot point
of the Joker wanting him dead.
Yeah, in the movie. Yeah, exactly.
And Bruce Wayne saving his life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not Batman. he does the same thing with the Lambo that he does with the tumbler.
Yeah, exactly.
He jumps in the way of that car instead of the rocket.
Which is like another thing that I think you really get to see like Batman's character in this, because like Batman has nothing but, you know, to gain or benefit from this guy dying, just because his secret dies with him, and then, you know, the hospital gets saved essentially.
Yeah. I also like the idea, like how they wrote in that Harvey took the fall as Batman because he kind of had to, like, in order for, you know, Batman's bigger than terrorism, like,
you don't negotiate with terrorists.
No, exactly. So yeah, I thought that was cool too, even down to those little details that you kind of have to think through, honestly.
Yeah,
like not just in a normal viewing, but as I was taking notes, I was like, all these plot points make way more sense now that I'm like
an adult.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no,
so
absolutely.
Let's see. Yeah, I think there's a lot of iconic things that happen in this movie too. Like Gordon becomes Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, he sure does. Yeah, I mean, great scene by Heath Ledger. He's clapping like.
Oh yeah, he's just like he likes the fat Gordon's commissioner, which I think is ironic.
It's very ironic.
He like likes him. He's like, oh, I like this.
Yeah,
guy,
well,
you know?
Yep, exactly.
A line we did forget that I do have a note of is the Jerry Maguire quote that the Joker makes. He's just like, no, you complete me.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
that's a great quote.
Or another good one that's along the similar lines of it is like, you won't kill me out of some misplaced of self-righteousness, and I won't kill you because you're just too much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good too. What I thought was interesting, and this might be one of the things, it's not something I dislike about the movie, but it is kind of like knowing Batman, how methodical he is. When Joker he's like, no, I'm going to tell you where both are at, and you're going to choose.
Yeah.
When it comes to, because both of them are in the buildings.
Right, exactly.
And you get the origin of TwoFace and the death of Rachel Dawes.
Yeah.
And he just believes him.
Yeah.
I was kind of like,
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's like the Joker has been pretty straightforward in, like, you know, his
but he's manipulated the whole thing to what he wants.
He has, yes, but I mean
do you think he was actually going to go for Rachel, or that he knew he needed to save Harvey even though he said he was going to go for Rachel?
Because
he tells Gordon, I'm going for Rachel.
Right, he says he's going for Rachel, and then like because if he changed his mind and saved Harvey Dent, Gordon would have showed up at the same place Harvey Dent went to.
That's true, yeah.
But no, I think it's ultimately, like Batman was going to go save Rachel, and even with that whole thing, I think, you know, they just you know, on its face, it's like, okay, this is another dilemma you're throwing. You're basically telling Batman to save somebody who he cares about personally, or you have to save like
the White Knight of Gotham.
The White Knight of Gotham here, you know? And so
that to me blew my mind though, that they did kill her.
Yeah, no,
I was like,
no,
whoa.
that was a surprise here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I like it. I love how the movie feels like it's constantly moving.
No,
there's no dead space in this movie. It's pretty airtight.
It is very airtight. Like there is like it throws like a very intense, you know, quick paced scene, but then it also does like something very few movies I feel like do of its ilk, which is like it gives the audience room to breathe after like a big event or a big plot shift here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I thought was interesting too, you know, kind of them going to the ferries. I was trying to figure out where they were going.
Just getting out of the city for the most part.
Yeah, I just thought it was weird that they were evacuating the city though, because I understand that the Joker was kind of doing his thing, but I was like, why was the jail? Why
were the inmates on the boat? So if you remember the part in it's when Gordon is talking to the mayor like towards the end of the movie, and they're, you know, the city's in chaos. Basically, the Joker made a threat, essentially like a bomb threat, that the bridges and the tunnels are going to be an issue for people trying to leave the city. So that left one way to get
which
out.
Is the ferry.
Well, one way on land to get out of the city. Which
I mean, that's even another level of the Joker's scheme and how well he planned it for them to be on the boats.
Right. So that gets blocked off here.
Right.
And then like Gordon and the mayor are talking about like, we need to start using the ferries, and then like I want to use those ferries to get some of the inmates out of here and stuff like that. And the mayor's like, well, why are we doing that? He's like, because I think the Joker is going to use them in his plan here. I want to get him out of here. That way he can't break him out, start a riot or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
I love how they highlight Harvey's self-fulfilling prophecy, you know, at the beginning of the movie of you either die a hero, you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love Gordon's monologue at the end of the movie.
Oh, it's so good.
The silent guardian, watchful protector, a dark knight, which really talks about the duality of men, right? Yeah. Like the White Knight versus the Dark Knight, and who Batman had to be in order to keep kind of the bad guys in check. Like, because if he would have they talk about it quite a bit. If of Dent needed to be better, because if he were to fall, then all he stood for would basically be for nothing, and all those people would be let out on back onto the streets. Yeah, no, his entire crusade had to basically depended on his moral character, which eventually, spoilers, he's corrupted. He's corrupted here. And just even the Dent versus Two-Face, like how different those characters were. And so, I think this David S. Goyer and Christopher Nolan and did a great job with this.
Nolan. And quick shout out to freaking Two-Face's look in this movie and how it became Two-Face. Like absolutely brilliant.
It still holds up too.
Still holds up, exactly.
10 years later.
Yeah, 10 years later, roughly, yeah.
But any other final thoughts you got?
Oh, yes. So, this movie is a movie that grabs your attention and never lets go. Pretty much from the moment it starts off with the bank robbery, it keeps ramping up the stakes and intensity.
Yep.
The pacing is airtight, having big scenes and events, but like I said, gives you time to breathe and digest a scene before moving on to the next big thing here. And it's honestly like a miracle with like how many plot threads and layers this movie has, and for it to like masterfully handle it and like pull it off so successfully, like it's crazy.
Yeah, totally.
And the action set pieces are some of the most creative set pieces I have ever seen in a movie here.
I agree.
This is the movie that made me the Batman fan that I am today here. This is the best comic book movie ever made, and this is my personal favorite movie of all time.
I can't argue with that stuff at all.
Nah, I don't think there is a superhero movie that comes close to the quality of The Dark Knight. I feel like Logan might be the closest one that comes to, but I still feel like The Dark Knight still holds that top spot.
Yeah, I would say like if I were to kind of talk about my top 5 comic book movies of all time, Dark Knight's probably number 1.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier, I think, for me is number 2, and then Logan's number 3.
Batman Begins probably in there somewhere.
Batman Begins is probably
4 or 5 somewhere.
Probably 4, but 2, 3, and 4 are probably all tied.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then 5,
Avengers maybe.
Oh, probably Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
anyway, that's it for this episode. We gotta. If you haven't checked out our last Throwback Thursday, be sure to check that out. Batman Begins, see what we thought on that. And then next week, we're going to finish off our Dark Knight series with The Dark Knight Rises.
Yep.
So we'll be making a lot of Tom Hardy jokes probably and Bane jokes.
Yep.
Well, stay tuned for that. We greatly appreciate you guys listening. Check us out on our social medias. Leave us a review. We would greatly appreciate it. Have an awesome week. And remember, everyone's a nerd about something.
Peace out.